A short history of the Ohio Farquars. Preacher Farquhar was not a preacher at all, but got his name from his mama, Fiona Farquhar, who was a woman of hope and ambition for each of her children. It was a big family, with jubilant Ulysses Farquhar at its head. The oldest child was Mayor Farquhar. He was followed by senator, doctor, banker, lawyer, elder, preacher, and finally Lucy Farquhar. Apparently, Mother Farquhar's expectation for the only girl in the family were less lofty than for those of her boys. In fact, none of the Farquhar children lived up to their names except for Lucy, whom the family no longer mentions. Mayor Farquhar did once run for the office of mayor, but was defeated by 9 votes, despite the fact that the town was named Farquhar, after its founder, Jubilant's grandfather, Ulysses. The final vote tally was 15-6, with half of Mayor's votes presumably coming from his parents and himself, though his father's vote was not a sure thing. The Farquhars, being of the Scottish persuasion, were good Presbyterians. So was everybody else in the town, except for 2 families of Anabaptists, who mostly kept to themselves, married each other, and had a little church that was also a school at the end of Merchant Street, next to the button factory that they ran, the town's only industry. Jubilant Farquhar ran the general store. Like all general stores, it was called General because it was the only store in town and sold a little of everything. But no generals, Jubilant would joke. As the Farquhar children grew, each went to work in the store, including Preacher, who started sweeping floors at the age of 9. But Preacher, unlike his siblings, did not move away to Columbus or Cleveland to look for work when he reached adulthood. He chose to stay, and he eventually took over the store. Becky Taggart, the daughter of the Presbyterian minister, was the prettiest girl in town. That wasn't saying much, there being so few girls near Preacher's age, only 2 in fact, and Janet Fraser ran away at 16 to marry the Anabaptist boy who ran away with her. Becky once said she wouldn't marry any Farquhar, including Preacher, if he was the last man in town. If she hadn't changed her mind, she would have led a very lonely life. 7 months after she changed her mind, she bore their first child, and only child, a girl, Beverly. Becky chose the name Beverly, but Preacher's mother wanted her to be called Virtue, perhaps wanting to make up for the mistake she made in the naming of her own daughter Lucy. Becky won the argument, but compromised with Mother Farquhar by putting Virtue on the birth certificate as the girl's middle name. Once again, Fiona Farquhar's plan backfired. Yet another Farquhar child failed to live up to her name, proving that it's best to name a child something that he or she can live up to, Lucy being the only Farquhar example of that.